We recently covered, or not too terribly long ago, Clash of the Champions 16, which was Fall Brawl. We've got that in the archives for you to check out, Grilling JR on youtube.com. But this is quite the quote from the Observer on the heels of that show. Sunday on the Jim Ross radio show in Atlanta, Ross announced that Jim Herd had just been named the new president of the National Wrestling Alliance. That announcement probably meant nothing to the listening audience, but what it really meant was that at a meeting in Charlotte on Friday, World Championship Wrestling became the controlling power in the nebulous NWA. By virtue of it, Lex Luger has now been installed as the NWA champion. WCW will again become WCW and use the NWA name as the sanctioning body, and the NWA will be used again on television once again. Listen, let's talk about that. This was sort of a hokey pokey time in the WCW NWA relationship. By and large, the NWA doesn't really exist the way it used to. WCW has always been the lead dog here because they were on Turner, and that goes back to the Crockett days. Even when they made the big gold belt, they didn't put the letters NWA on there because Crockett wasn't sure, hey, how long am I really going to keep doing this? Once the sale to Ted Turner happens, I'm sure that all the NWA folks were thrilled to have the association, but it became a hot button issue when that same big gold belt was now on WWF television. They did not want to be associated with the WWF, and frankly, WCW didn't want that either. So there's a lot of back and forth here, but I don't think many people would have had on their bingo cards 10 years prior. Yeah, Jim Herd, he's going to be the future president of the NWA. What? That would have been a real head scratcher, would it not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And still confusing. Too much politics.
Yes.
Too much politics, in my opinion. And it was just, things got confusing, got muddled in my view. So, it was interesting times to say the least.
Here's how they got so muddled. Of course, there's it comes to a head, the circumstances between Ric Flair and WCW, and specifically Jim Herd and Ric Flair. So when Rick's out of there, he's still technically the NWA champion. And the NWA board has a legal counsel named Dennis Guthrie, who, wouldn't you know it, also is Ric Flair's attorney. That board has 7 members, and the voting power is in the hands of those folks: Jim Crockett, Gary Juster, Jim Herd, Larry O'Day from Australia, Steve Rickard Sr., Steve Ricard Jr., both out of New Zealand, and one split vote between Carl and Elliot Murnick. So I guess somehow, some way, these guys get together, they make a vote. But the irony of this whole thing is the NWA's legal counsel, also Ric Flair's legal counsel. This is kind of a mess.
Not kind of a mess. Yeah. That's one way of putting it, Conrad. Kind of a mess.
Let's talk about Jim Crockett here for a minute. We don't hear his name very often in 1991. We do know that by 1993, he's at least kicking the tires on, hey, do I want to, after I've sat out my non-compete, do I want to actually go out and try this thing again? We know that, he at least started to do that, and maybe for whatever reason decided this isn't the right time or place. I think, as I understand it, he pivoted into ice cream of all things. But I'm curious, in this era, 1991, was Crockett a part of anything WCW related that you can recall? Now, I'm not saying David, I'm saying Jimmy.
Yeah, not really, Conrad. Everything was still up in the air in my perspective. And, it was still confusing. Who's going to represent this, and who's going to be the champion, and all these things. So it was a little convoluted, to say the least.
Convoluted would be the way you would describe the belt situation. I think everybody agrees they had egg on their face with the idea that Bobby Heenan had the NWA world title on WWF television. Of course, WCW is demanding the belt back from Ric Flair, but Rick is saying, nope, it's mine. I paid a deposit for it, and I paid it to the NWA. So when I get my money back plus interest, and of course, WCW is thinking, wait, you didn't give us that money. We don't owe you anything. Well, it turns out WCW couldn't actually go get that belt. It had to be the NWA. So it does feel as if contractually, by the letter of the law, the NWA is going to have to get in bed with WCW in order to regain that belt. And I know that this was a really, really big deal in 1991, but I can't help but feel like, hypothetically, if there were some star who were to be fired by a company and he happened to be in possession of the world title, wouldn't we just go make another one? Who cares?
That's one solution, no doubt about that.
Yeah,
make another belt. It's without sounding disrespectful, the belt is a prop, and we could have easily replaced the belt, but it just kept getting so many cooks in the kitchen. It was a lot of muddy water. It just wasn't a fun time to be in that company because you never knew what was going to happen. It's hard to plan. It's hard to go forward in a productive manner because of all the confusion and the little alliances and so forth. So it was a tough place to work at that point in time because we didn't really know what was next, and that just was the way it was. And it was just, you go to work every day thinking, okay, what's next? What's going to happen now? And so we worked our way through it somehow or another. It was just cumbersome and awkward and kind of displaced in a lot of ways. So it was not a fun time to work there because of the uncertainty of so many things.
SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Rajiv. I'm in Sacramento, California. I came to Save with Conrad because I've heard Conrad talk about how he helps people all the time save money and the best route to go for getting some mortgages and finances done. And having heard so many different testimonials in the past, it made the most sense to go this route. We were in the market for a new house and we wanted to know what we could afford. So we spoke with Steve and then Diane to get through the pre-approval process to see what we could afford. And then once we were able to understand that aspect of it, that was when we were able to shop around for a house to get a mortgage through Save with Conrad. Everybody on the team was great. Everybody really explained everything fully to where it was more in like layman's terms to where I could understand it as someone not in the business or having shopped around for houses too many times. So being able to understand every step of the process and talking with everyone on the team about that was really, really helpful. And it made me feel really confident that I was going the right route. I would definitely recommend Save with Conrad to others. I know that sometimes people look at it and they go, oh, they're based in Alabama. What could they help me with? But I'm out here in California and they were able to square everything away and get things done really quickly, as opposed to sometimes even people out here don't move as quickly as the Save with Conrad team. So everything was really well done, really efficient, and I would definitely recommend Save with Conrad to others. My name is Rajiv. I'm in Sacramento, California, and I was able to get into my dream home with SaveWithConrad.com.
Available, that's number 212, non-equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com.